Hey guys, so I thought I would share with you 25 ways to style a twilly or a narrow scarf today, because I feel like we all get stuck in a rut of wearing them the same ways. So I wanted to kind of like show other ways besides just tying them around your neck and tying them around your bag, which I'm going to show you as well, besides kind of the normal ways, but kind of how to use them in your hair, how to accessorize with them, and just to get more wear out of them, because they're not exactly cheap for a tiny piece of material, and they're such a fun print that can totally change the aesthetic of your outfit. So let's take a look at the twilly. And twillies or narrow scarves, whatever you want to call them, they've been around since the 1930s when Hermes masterminded them. But a lot of the styles were kind of still stuck in the same way. Like, I feel like you see them tied like this so much, which is gorgeous. It's a classic, but I feel like it's kind of it can get quite matronly, or it can look like you're off to work a little bit too much. So I'm including this as well because I do think it can look very chic, but also just tons of other ways to wear it to try and get more use out of it. Okay, should we start with the bags, since we are already here, and I think that's what most of us kind of think about using them for. So obviously I think the most common way of how to tie a twilly or a narrow scarf, mitzah, around a bag is to tie it around the handle like this. What I love about this is the reason I've got two is obviously it's got two handles, and things like Dior, Chanel lambskin obviously is very, very fragile. So it does kind of like get damaged really easily. I'm going to pop him on the floor because he shouldn't really be on the dining room table, as very cute as he's being. So this is obviously a really easy way to style it. I tend to start wrapping in the middle of the bag so I know the ends are going to be even. And you can either leave the ends loose like that, or just do what I did and do kind of that loose kind of knot on the end so that it definitely stays in place. And obviously if you've got a longer scarf, you're just going to wrap it tighter. So you can choose how long you like these dangly bits to be. I like mine quite short. And I like finding twillies and scarves that tie in with my outfit and my bag, just to tie the whole look in. So I have the Dior slides that match these. So again, it just ties all the patterns together rather than just doing a simple plain colored one. The other way to tie it, if you wanted to do something really, really simple, is just to do a giant bow on them, which looks really cute. It's very, very girly as well. And then it's up to you whether you want to do kind of like a smaller bow and longer ends. You can play around with this. Can you do a tiny little bow at the top and long ends? Or you could do kind of like a big floppy bow and just have everything kind of like loose and casual, which kind of looks cute on a more hobo bag and a less structured bag like this. But I'm just giving you an example of how to tie it. Another way to tie like that one, I'm going to do it on a new bag just because you need enough material to do it with at the end. So you're going to start the same as you would, tie it at the bottom to start with, wrap the entire handle. Okay, and then when you're getting towards the end and you still have quite a lot of material, you're going to make a loop, tie that off, and then come back through this middle loop here with your last piece of the bow. I'm trying to do this really slowly, you can see what I'm doing, and then pull that through, but not all the way. So you still have that little tie there. And then you can just kind of pull on the bow and kind of arrange it as you want to arrange it until it looks how you want it to look. Okay, another option to replace your leather shoulder strap is to use your twilly instead, simply by attaching your twilly narrow scarf to where your normal shoulder strap would be, tying it over. And I would be very careful with how much weight you're having in your bag, using it on a smaller bag like the medium or small Lady Dior or a classic flat bag, rather than a giant tote, just so you don't put too much strain and break the twilly or have the knot come undone. And then that just creates a very different look to what the leather shoulder strap does. It kind of looks more beachy, more casual, just kind of less structured and rigid. And it is I find that quite secure. And obviously it's really soft on the shoulders as well. Sometimes you've got a chain strap or a leather, they can kind of leave marks and dig in. So if you've got a strapless outfit, this is kind of a really cool idea and way of wearing it. I don't know if I'd necessarily do the twilly on the handle and the shoulder. It might be a bit too much. I've just got that on from earlier. That's another really, really easy way of tying your twilly on your handbag. So another way you can do it is to wrap the shoulder strap with the twilly, mitzah, narrow scarf. And that way it just changes the look again, and it just gives it a bit of extra interest, pattern, gets more use out of your twilly, protects the leather on the shoulder strap. And also just if you're wearing a strapless top and you don't want it to dig in, it's a great way of doing it. What I would do so it doesn't slide is tie it around the clasp where you've attached it to the bag rather than starting on the leather, because that's just going to keep it at the base. And then just wrap it as many times or as few times as you have material for, going all the way over the strap. It doesn't have to be particular, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, just give it a few wraps around there, wiggle it around till you've got it exactly where you want it to be. And voila, just another way of being able to use your narrow scarf in a different way. Okay, so we talked about how to tie a twilly on your handbag. Let's look at the different ways of tying it around your neck. Okay, so obviously wearing a twilly narrow scarf around your neck is one of the most common ways of wearing it. It's not something I've personally really done before, but I'm kind of wanting to get more into it. I was just not wanting it to look too much office and make it look more of a fashion aesthetic. So I think if I style it, it's gonna be something more like along the lines of a bodysuit and jeans, or kind of wide leg pants, rather than it being kind of like a suited and booted look, or like I'm a corporate air attendant or something. So let's play around. Which one do I want to do it with? I think I'm going to do it with the really skinny scarf, this Twilly from Dior, just because I've seen other people kind of style it with a fatter one. So let's be a bit different. So obviously, very simple. The first way to do it, I've still got the tag there. It's the label, that's what's on here, and so that's why it's hanging down. Obviously, a really simple way to wear it is just to put it loosely around the neck. And then another way you could do it, obviously, is just to tie it really loosely around the front, whether you just do it single or whether you actually do a knot with it. So that is a couple of quick looks with it, dead easy, right? And it just totally changes the look of the entire outfit. Another way you can do it is to pre-tie a knot in the front of the scarf, or in the middle of the scarf. It's going to be in the front when you put it on. Just create a really cute little knot with it. I'm going to try and cover that tag up in there. And then from there, you can simply tie it around your neck. She says, I should have put my hair up for this, shouldn't I, really? And I'm just going to knot it in the back. And then you can just play around with it at the front, make it as loose or as tight as you want. Make sure all the tags are hidden. And that's just another really simple look for it that's more like a choker. Now, if you wanted to wear it like an actual choker, obviously you could do that as well. To do that, we're just going to start with a really simple flat line across the front. And I'm just going to, because there's a couple of ways you can do this, wrap it once. So it's just a really smooth line and you can really see the print on the twilly. And one way you could wear it is obviously to have it loose and hanging, or do a nice bow. The other way to do it would be to wrap it around twice, and you can either tie it at the front here, which is kind of like more of the classic way of doing it up. I'm trying to like do it in here, but it's reversing it when you're doing the mirror, isn't it? Kind of just wearing it, that's very, very classic. Or you can also kind of tie it to the side if you wanted a different look there. I kind of prefer it personally on the side. I just think it looks a little bit more chic, a little bit less bulky. If you've got a longer scarf that's going to hang down longer, you can tie a bow with it. Okay, and we're not done with it as a neck scarf. Like I said, there are tons and tons of ways to tie it. So another way to be was, to remember we did that classic style and we did the double knot at the front. You can also just do the same, but tie it at the back. So the double wrap, and then a nice little knot at the back. So rather than tucking it in for the choker style, you would just leave it out like so. And then if you wanted to turn it into a kind of more of a choker style, then you can just kind of put everything underneath, tuck all the ends in so it's nice and neat. And then we have more of a neat choker style. Okay, another really, really simple style for this is just to do and then you can kind of do this however you want to do it. You can kind of do a very kind of like chic, kind of just loose look like that. I kind of like that because you do see more of the print then as well. That's what I really like about finding kind of more intricate twillies that are really pretty, or have got a unique print, or kind of a well-known print like the Dior or the Hermes. Another fun style that's really easy to do, starting with that knot in the front again, is just to do that knot, put it around your neck, bring both ends back round to the front again. And then you're gonna put both ends back through your original front knot. So one through that side. You want to probably hold on to that one so you don't lose it. One through that side. And then you can either kind of leave it kind of loose, and this looks really cute with a longer scarf as well, or you can tighten it up a little bit. That's entirely up to you. It's kind of one of those styles that you can really mess around with and just make it your own. But this is probably one of my favorite ways to wear it, and especially then if I want to loosen it up in the day, I can as well. And then the very last one for you, really simple, is just going to be to do the 1.5 wrap. And again, no tying needed, and then that's quite neat. And what I really like about this style is when you do the choker one, you can't tend to see the pattern as much. When you do it kind of a looser style like this, you can even flip it if you wanted to see that side, tie it around the other way. You can kind of see more of that print again. And I think that's really pretty if you've got, say I had a plain white blazer on or a plain navy blazer on, I just think it really pops with a bit of contrast of pattern. Another way to get use out of your twillies, narrow scarves and Mitzah scarves is to put them on a hat. It really doesn't matter what kind of style it is, whether it's fedora, a Stetson, or a floppy summer hat. I kind of really like them on a floppy summer hat, and coordinating the color scarf with whatever color outfit I'm wearing. So you could do this. What I like about this scarf is it is reversible. You could kind of use it either way, and then just to pop it on around the original scarf. It works kind of even better if you don't have a scarf on there already. And this is so easy to do. And then if you're worried about it coming off of the hat, you can always just use a little safety pin to pin it not onto the actual hat itself, but to the original existing bow. And then that is kind of what it would look like. Obviously it just looks more luxe than the generic black ribbon did. I like the black, but this just changes it up. And if I'm wearing the matching Dior slides, it ties the whole look together. Because if you read my blog or you watch my YouTube, you know I like really, really matchy, coordinated, cohesive looks that look really put together. So yeah, just another way of getting more use out of it year round. So there's quite a few ways you can wear your twilly in your hair. I might have to move around a few times to try and be able to see the back of my hair for some of these. But obviously the first one is kind of like as an Alice band, and there's a few ways you can actually do it. So obviously one would be to put all of the hair behind it and to tie on the top of your head, either in the center or the side. And I find this easier to kind of tie front and then slip it back to where I want it to be and play around with the bow to have it kind of where I want it to be. And I do feel it's kind of a style you have to play around with a little bit to get that bow perfect. Just faff with it a little bit, faff with your hair a little bit, just to get it exactly how you want it. The other way to do this would be to leave some of the hair out of the front for a softer, wispier look, in which case I would probably curl these front bits a little bit more. I didn't really bother doing it today, like I said, because I knew I was going to be messing around with it. And then kind of exactly as you were doing before, where you're going to grab this and then make the bow at the top. And that's what you're going to end up with, something looking very much like that. And then if you have some hairs caught, you can always kind of pull them out. If you wanted to curl these a little bit more, make it a bit more wispy. And then also if you wanted to tie it back in a low bun like that, you could. So the other way to do it as well, if you're not a big fan of the bow at the top, which I'm not really personally, I feel it looks a bit, I don't know, for me it's a bit too young for me. And I feel like, you know, one of the babies, got little baby bows on the top of the head. I prefer mine under the hair. So the easiest way to do that is just going to be to make a little separation if you want any hair out at the front. And then just put the rest up just really quickly in a crocodile clip, just so you can do the knot underneath, so you're not getting all of your hair stuck into the ribbon and then having it all ripped out at the end of the day. So I'm just going to do that temporarily. I'm going to pop this over the top. Then I'm going to tie it underneath. And that is that look. And I prefer, like I said, I prefer this to the bow at the top, but everyone just has a different aesthetic. So that's just a really, really easy way of doing it. If this is too fat for you, doing it that way and you're worried it's going to slide, another way you can do it is just simply to fold your skinny scarf in half. If you fold it this way, then you've got a much narrower band to work with, and it just gives it a very, very different look. So a couple of different options to wear it as an Alice band. Another pretty easy style is to braid it into your plait. Because I know my hair is a lot shorter than the twilly is, I'm going to leave quite a bit of excess at the top and wrap the band just to keep so it's not loads and loads of material at the bottom. And then I'm simply going to braid the narrow scarf into my hair. So it literally acts like a third piece of hair. So just 2 pieces of hair, because the third is the narrow scarf that we're working with. And then when you get to the end, you can either put a band in the end here, or you can keep wrapping the twilly around the end of the hair and knot off the twilly at the end. And then however many times you wrap it is going to depend on how much of the twilly you want dangling at the end. And the very last wrap I'm going to make as a knot, so holding onto the hair. And I'm just going to loosen that very, very last wrap I did, and then push that through as if I'm tying a knot. And that's going to knot off the end of it. And that is it. That is your twilly braid. Okay, if you wanted to do just a simple ponytail, there's quite a few options even just for that. So one would be just to do a very, very simple bow with the ponytail. So just going around. You want to make sure it stays at the base of the ponytail and your ends are even. And then tying. And then just doing a nice bow on the top. And that's just a really simple way of doing it. The other way is to completely wrap the ponytail with these and not have really anything of a bow, just using this just to literally just cover up the elastic. And then you can tie that at the bottom or at the top. It doesn't really matter what you do with it. And if you wanted to totally tuck the ends in, you can just tuck the ends in as well and get rid of those if you didn't want them hanging. So it just kind of looks more like a tight scrunchie. Another really, really easy style you can do is just to wrap a bun. So however you would normally do your bun, and then just take your twilly scarf and then wrap the bun. If you've got a lot of hair, you can get away with doing it normal thickness. Because mine's a smaller bun, I'm going to fold it in half to wrap it. Otherwise, I feel like you're not going to see any hair. Do a bow at the top, at the bottom, wrap it a few times, whatever you feel like doing with it. I find it easier to tie in the front of my head and then slide down over to the bun and finish the bow there. You can obviously also tie it at the bottom or just leave them loose. And then the last way to wear your twilly in your hair is how I was wearing it a lot last summer in Portugal. And that is to simply do the half up, half down. Whether you use a hairband or hair knot to keep it half up is up to you. And then just tying the twilly around the hairband or however you want to tie it up, leaving it loose or doing it in a nice little bow. And when I do my hair half up, half down like this with a twilly or narrow scarf, I do tend to prefer it curly, just because when I do it straight or I freshly blow dried, I find the scarf slips out more than when I've got curls, which kind of hold it in a little bit better. Okay, so kind of a more funky way to wear them is as kind of a wrist wrap. And there's a few different ways you can do it depending on how dexterous you are. I kind of like to just have a little bit, however much I'm going to have left out in my hand, and then wrap the rest around my wrist. And then I come back to the front, which is in my hand, tie it there, and then slide it up my hand. And then I can tie the knot there. You can also use your teeth for this. And then obviously if you want to have it on the underside, you can just like that, or you can twist it around so that you have the knot on top. So it's just one way of tying it around your wrist as a wrist wrap, but 2 ways you can wear it. Okay, so I think that was about 23 ways to wear, style, tie a twilly scarf, from bags to hats to your hair to accessorizing with it. I hope you find them useful. If I missed something or you have another idea, drop them in the comments below so other people get even more styling inspiration. I'm going to link some of these products as well in case you haven't got them and want to have a little play at home. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a quick thumbs up and subscribe.